When you think of a country's constitution, you probably picture this huge, dusty, super complicated legal book, right? Well, what if I told you to think of it more like a user's guide, a practical manual for running the world's biggest democracy? That's exactly how we're going to look at the Indian Constitution today.
I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. How on earth do you create one single set of rules for a country with so much diversity? So many languages, cultures, and religions? That's the absolutely massive challenge the people who wrote India's constitution decided to take on.
So, just like any good user's guide, you've got to start with the mission statement, right? You need to know what the whole point is. For India's constitution, that's the preamble. It's right there on page 1, and it basically sets the tone for everything else.
Now, the preamble kicks things off by defining what India is, using 5 really powerful words. It's sovereign, meaning India is in charge of its own destiny. Socialist, which points to a goal of fairness and equality for everyone. Secular, meaning the government doesn't play favorites with religion. Democratic, because, the people are the boss. And a republic, which means the head of state is elected, not born into it. These 5 ideas are the absolute foundation.
But it doesn't stop there. It's not just about defining the nation. It's about what the nation promises you. And it makes 4 huge promises. Justice, so things are fair. Liberty, so you have freedom of thought and belief. Equality, so everyone gets a fair shot. And fraternity, which is all about promoting a sense of unity, of brotherhood.
All right, so that brings us to the big question. What's in it for you? This part is all about the deal between you and the state. It lays out exactly what the government guarantees you and what it asks of you in return.
And at the very core of that deal are your fundamental rights. Now listen, these aren't just suggestions or nice ideas. They are rock-solid guarantees that you can actually go to court to protect. The Constitution makes sure these basic freedoms are totally shielded. To keep things organized, this user's guide groups all these rights into 6 main categories. They cover all the big stuff, from equality to freedom. Let's just dive into a couple to see how incredibly detailed they are. Okay, this is where it gets really clever. Take the right to equality. It's not just one simple idea. The framers actually blended 2 different concepts together. They took the British idea that absolutely no one is above the law and combined it with the American idea that the law has to be applied fairly to everyone in the same boat. It's this kind of thoughtful detail that makes the Constitution so robust. And then you get to your 6 key freedoms. And this is the stuff of everyday life, right? The freedom to speak your mind, to get together with friends peacefully, to live wherever you want in the country, and to choose your own career. These are the rights that make a society feel open and free.
But here's the thing. It's not a one-way street. With great rights come great responsibilities. The guide also lists out your fundamental duties. Simple things, really, like respecting the Constitution itself, promoting harmony, and, not damaging public property. It's the other half of the deal.
Okay, so we've got the promises, and we've got the rights. But how does this whole machine actually run? Well, the Constitution lays out the entire blueprint, and it sets up 3 massive engines of power to make the country go, each with its own very specific job.
It's that classic separation of powers we've all heard about. First, you've got the legislature, or parliament. Their job, make the laws. Then you have the executive, think the president and prime minister. Their job is to put those laws into action. And finally, the judiciary, with the Supreme Court on top, make sure everyone is playing by the constitutional rules. Now, that main lawmaking body, Parliament, is made up of 2 houses. You've got the Lok Sabha, which is the House of the People because we directly elect them. And then there's the Rajya Sabha, the Council of States, which represents, the states. Pretty straightforward. But check this out. Not all laws are treated the same way. This table shows the special fast-track process for what are called money bills, anything to do with taxes or spending. And the bottom line is this. The Lok Sabha, the house that we, the people, elect directly, has the final say. The Rajya Sabha can talk about it, they can suggest changes, but they can't block it for more than 14 days. This makes sure the government that people elected can actually govern.
Any good user guide can't be set in stone. It needs to be able to adapt, right? It needs software updates. This part of the Constitution is like the settings menu. It explains how the whole system stays balanced, and crucially, how it can be changed over time.
So, to run a country as massive and complex as India, you need to be clear about who's in charge of what. That's where the 7th schedule comes in. It's basically a giant to-do list that divides all the jobs. The union list is for national stuff, like defense.
The state list is for local stuff, like police. And then there's a concurrent list for things they share, like education.
And trust me, this document has been updated a lot. More than 100 times, in fact. Here are just a few of the game changers. The 42nd Amendment was so huge they called it a mini-constitution. Then the 44th came along and reversed a lot of it. The 73rd gave more power to local villages, and the 101st brought in the huge GST tax overhaul. It's proof that this thing is a living, breathing document.
Okay, final section. What happens when things go completely off the rails? I mean, every good manual needs a troubleshooting guide, right? Well, the Constitution has some powerful tools for when the nation is in crisis, but it also has one final, ultimate safety net just for you, the citizen.
In a worst-case scenario, like a war, Article 352 allows for a national emergency. This is basically the government's panic button. It gives the central government a ton of extra power to protect the country. It's a really big deal, meant only for the most extreme situations.
So that's the state safety net. But what about yours? What happens if the state itself is the one violating your rights? Where do you go? What's your panic button?
Well, you don't have to take my word for it. Let's listen to the man who was the chief architect of the whole thing, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He said that if you took this one specific article out, the entire Constitution would be worthless. He called it the very soul of the Constitution.
And this is it. This is that soul, Article 32. This is your ultimate power tool. It gives every single citizen the right to go straight to the Supreme Court if they feel their fundamental rights have been violated. The court can then issue these super powerful orders called writs to make things right. This is the final guarantee that makes all the other rights actually mean something.
So when you put it all together, from its big promises to its engines of power and its built-in ability to change, it's clear this isn't some static historical document. It's a living, breathing guide for a nation that's constantly moving and evolving. Its story is still being written every single day, which really only leaves one question. What's the next chapter going to be?